And start the first part of your practice, just allowing yourself to relax. Noticing if there's any places of holding or tightness. Allow yourself to ungrip in your jaw, your shoulders. In the pit of your stomach, relaxing. Allow yourself to let go of your duties in life and pressures from your job or your family, partners, children, parents. And take this time as a refuge for your heart. There is a refuge. A safe place. And each moment of mindfulness is taking that refuge, keeping the heart protected from the negative inner forces of the mind, the inner critic, worries, fears, remorse, dread. All of the kilesas, psychic irritants that every human being experiences. A moment of mindfulness is a moment of protection and refuge. So allow yourself to do your practice just one moment at a time. With that sense and that faith of protection of your heart, mind. And allow your breath to be natural, short or long, smooth or rough, it doesn't matter. Observe the breath as it is. When breathing in, know you're breathing in. When breathing out, know you're breathing out. The mind wanders, noting, thinking, not shaming yourself or blaming, thinking, just seeing, thinking. It will happen again and again, coming back to the breath again and again. Not qualifying your experience as good or bad or right or wrong, connecting awareness directly with the isness of moment to moment experience, not holding on to anything, not pushing anything away. naming the various states of consciousness as they arise, knowing your current condition as it is. And if there is sleepiness, knowing that. If there's boredom, knowing that. If there's tranquility, knowing that. You found tension welling up in your body, re-relaxing. relaxing and being gentle with yourself. dropping attention into your body for the last few minutes of the practice. Movement, sensations of breath, touch points, other sensations. Awareness and body. you're back. Hi, Cheryl. So many people. Look at everybody there online. Hi, everybody online. Only a few of you with your cameras on. Don't be shy. Yeah, I like seeing you. I can see you, and I like seeing you. I was thinking about what to talk about this morning when I woke up. And as a teacher of the Dharma, I have this like struggle that happens with sharing the kind of exquisite beauty of the Dharma and then trying to put that into words. And so it's a struggle. And I thought this morning, I wish I had telepathic. So I practiced telepathy this morning. I'm like, okay, if I was going to do it telepathically, I think that would be better than words, because words are they're dry, right? But the experience of the Dharma isn't dry. So when I was thinking of doing that telepathically, like what do I want to convey? And the first thing that came to me is there is a refuge. There is a safety, because that's what we're looking for. And we look for refuge in all kinds of ways that don't actually lead to safety or security. But there does exist one, in a refuge in the human experience. And the Dharma is that. And when people take refuge in the Dharma, they're not doing it from a place of adopting a belief system or adhering to a dogma, but they're doing it from a place of resting your heart on something that will surely be beneficial to you. So there's a safety in the Dharma, and it's a reliable one. And you should approach that, if you don't have a deep faith in it, with some skepticism, and only when you see that for yourself should you really rely on anything. And the Buddha, as we talk about regularly, really promoted free thinking, inquiry, and seeing things for yourself. He didn't demand that you believe that he was some kind of godlike, and if you didn't believe, that meant eternal damnation. I mean, that's neurotic. That's pretty neurotic, isn't it? Possessive. But the Buddha didn't have that possessive kind of thinking at all. He didn't need people to believe him or not believe him. He really encouraged people to not believe. You have to taste it for yourself and see things for yourself. So the refuge in the Dharma is the refuge in putting these practices to work in your life, and you will see that it will lead to benefit. Marianne, when you were at my retreat in Benedict Canyon a while ago, before we reopened here, you said something, and it really stuck with me. And all you said was, I really miss InsightLA. Do you remember saying that? Yeah. And that stayed with me for a while. I kept thinking about you saying that afterwards. And there was a question at some point. Santa Monica could reopen if we wanted it. And there was a question internally about whether we would do it or not. Various reasons that really have nothing to do with people that come here. So, and I kept thinking of you. Like, this is a refuge. It's a refuge for people. They need it. We need a safe place. We need a community of people that are dedicated to, maybe don't practice perfectly, but at least they're trying to not harm each other, trying to be helpful, trying to bring peace into the world. And I don't know, and so it was me that pushed to open it here, and it really was because of you, Mary. You just connected me to how I'm sure many, many, many people feel. So that's our refuge. So there is a refuge Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha is what it's usually said, are the refuges. But the essence of Buddhist practice, you know, the three things that they say about what is the essence of Buddhist practice. Does anybody know? Yeah, there's a lot of different things you could say, which would be correct. But what I'm thinking of in particular is to not hurt people, to help people, and to purify the mind or train the mind. That is the essence of Buddhist practice, to not hurt, to help, and then to train the mind, training the mind. That's what we do in meditation. And when we do that, we come to understand, well, the Buddha said if you were to believe anything, or in a lot of monk teachers that I've had that don't emphasize belief at all, but if you were to believe one thing, what would be a good thing to believe in? Yeah, did you say that, Israel? Yeah. Did you guys hear him? Karma. Yeah, cause and effect, the law of cause and effect. There is a point in practicing Vipassana, we study the nature of reality, the nature of the relationship of the mind and body, the nature of emotions, the nature of thoughts, the nature of consciousness. It's like a scientific study of reality. And you come to see insights, this is InsightLA for a reason, the insights into reality, into consciousness, into the suffering and the cause of suffering. And one thing that you can observe, one of the first insights is the cause and effect. So that isn't a hard insight to see, but it's only at a very deep point of practice where you know it to be absolutely true in every single moment of life. But it's something that we can incline toward, that it's helpful to incline the mind towards a belief of, even if you don't absolutely know it. If you put in the cause of meditating, has anybody ever meditated and felt a benefit from it? Raise your, okay, cause and effect, okay. So we have to draw those lines. You got the benefit because of the thing that you did, right? Cause and effect. Have you ever been a little bit more quiet in your practice and had a thought come up and then you feel sensation in your body? Yeah, cause and effect. So it's not just happening sometimes, it's happening all the time. Every thought has an effect. You have a feeling in your body and there's a reaction in the mind, cause and effect. And there's a moral component to, ethical component to this cause and effect relationship in the universe. The Buddha said, cultivate the good. It is possible for you to cultivate the good. So that means that the habits that you have in your mind are changeable and that we can call on compassion and become more compassionate. We can call on kindness, become more kind. We can cultivate that. We can practice that. And that if this cultivating of the good were to lead to harm, the Buddha said he wouldn't tell you to do it, but because it leads to benefit and pleasure, therefore, I say cultivate the good, said the Buddha. So there's a relationship of wholesomeness as a cause will lead to benefit in the world in a karmic way. So the law of karma is not retribution in the way that we might think of it. And when you really understand it, there is no sense of blame. What we understand is that the mind is filled with causes and conditions. And to really understand it, you have to start having a sense of a past life. But if you want to hold that with a healthy skepticism, do. An agnosticism, hopefully, not a flat-out denial, because you don't know, right? None of us know. And I don't know that we have future lives. I haven't developed that psychic powers. I've only intuited that it could be true. So agnostic is a great attitude for that. But to accept things that happen in this life when we've been good people in this life, but bad things happen to good people. To justify that with karma, you have to think of a past life, right? So anyways, you can hold that over here and still witness cause and effect in your life. And it is so good to draw that relationship as frequently as you can, because this is where power exists for us. And really, the Buddha was about empowering people. You are living your own stream of karma, and I am living mine. And I can't live it for you, and no God can live it for you, and no other person can live it for you, and you can't live it for other people. You've probably noticed. Anybody ever have a friend that's on a self-destructive path, family member, anyone? You wanted to try to help them change their karmic stream in some way, make choices for them in some way, but you can't. We can't. So the Buddha was very clear about that. You have to do this yourself. I cannot for you. I can show you the way, but you have to walk the path for yourself. And so that means we're powerful. That means we're creators. And I was reading something by Pa Aksayada this morning, a great Burmese master, that was saying it's like having a blank canvas and understanding cause and effect. We're painting our canvas. So the causes that we put in are when do we put in causes? In the present, now. Of course, we have past causes that we put in, but when we're aware, we can control the causes now, in the present moment, which is why it's so important to have appamada, conscious awareness, fully aware of ourselves. How am I behaving in the world right now? And it takes practice to not behave in harmful ways towards each other, not be harmful in thought, speech, or in action. That takes practice. It takes reminding ourselves. Humans can turn selfish very quickly. Is that true for anybody here? Or other beings, at least, that you know, right? You've observed it in others, for sure. And so having a guiding light, which is what the Dharma is, to come back to live by, not to believe in, but to go to as a refuge, is such an unusual treasure in the world, because it really is showing you how to live in a way that is not confusing. You can understand life to the degree that it is no longer confusing to you. And that's wisdom. That's what wisdom is, truly, really understanding the way life works and how to live in a way that's most harmonizing and that brings you the most benefit, the most satisfaction, the most peace. But the understanding of cause and effect is something to adopt, even with healthy skepticism. And so the Buddha gave the ethical guidelines, which are important. Sila. Have you guys heard about Sila? Do you practice Sila? No? Okay. That's okay. You probably do practice Sila, but it's good to become aware that you are practicing Sila. For example, did you murder anybody today? Very good. There's plenty of circles in this world that you can go into where they would not be able to say they did not do that, right? Murder still happens on this realm insanely. It's an evil that exists still. I don't like using that word except for in that case. And it's done by our government pretty regularly, which is shameful and unfortunate. We don't bear those karmic consequences, though, if we uphold that value, Let's solve problems without murder. Can we try that? It seems so basic, right? It seems so basic, but it's not. So that is a guiding light. I'm going to try to solve my problems without murder. You've done it. You're doing it. Did you steal anything today? No. Take off in somebody's car to get here? No. Did you lie today? It starts to get harder. have an adulterous affair. You don't have to say that out loud, just reflect internally. Then around speech, it starts to get harder. The guiding principles of speech then take more practice for most of us. And we start getting into, okay, false speech, so not being deceptive and lying. It doesn't mean that you have to share all your secrets with people or anything like that. It just means not trying to get over on somebody by deceiving them, or try to get away with something by deceiving others, right? So practicing in truthfulness and being mindful is a strengthener of truth. I was saying it yesterday for those of you that were in the workshop. That was one thing when I went to the Burmese monks and nuns that I went to. What was one good thing, I didn't always love every way that they taught or all the customs or anything. I would have some resistance to, but one thing was for sure, is I knew they weren't lying to me. And I knew that they weren't trying to sell me something. Isn't that a relief in this culture? Isn't that a relief? In spiritual worlds, there's a selling of something. It was very clear. Nobody's trying, they're just telling me the truth. Reality, you can live by it or you don't have to. Was there such a relief? And so truth is beautiful. Truth is so great. And when we're aware in the present moment, truth and reality are the same word. What is the reality of this moment? And we just know for ourselves there's anger right now, and anger feels like this. It's a moment of truth. Because in our life we can feel angry and, no, I'm fine. Right. There's no truth, so we're disconnected from reality. Sometimes people don't even know how to tell the truth because they've disconnected themselves from their own reality. We can have compassion for that. So it's something that takes practice and inclining the mind towards. And then divisive speech. Not trying to separate that group from that group. Not defaming people. There's a lot of defamation going on. Accepted cultural defamation going on. Somebody does something wrong, you put it on YouTube, an embarrassing moment, a Karen, whatever, and shame the person. That's not very kind, is it? It's becoming culturally acceptable to, it's very much on YouTube and in our news to speak in a divided way, not trying to establish understanding with people that you don't agree with. So as we practice it ourselves, we'll be able to recognize it when it's happening, and the mind withdraws from that. So the Buddha encouraged, speak in ways that bring people together. In doing that, we find what's in common. What is a way we can understand? We don't agree here, but we have all these other places of agreement. We don't have to agree here, What do you call those? Algorithms. Algorithms say they're separating us more. So this is something we have to have a little bit more diligence with practicing. Not thinking in divisive ways of others, but learning to understand. And then when we're not in person, we can't see the whites of each other's eyes and the tenderness of each other. You can project onto people as you relate to them in the social media world. And when we think about people, we tend not to be as kind as when we're in front of them. Seeing the heaving of their chest, breath, the fragility of their life in that moment. The mind conceptualized can be like, he's an asshole. Just a picture of somebody, right? And then harsh speech is another one. Not calling somebody an asshole, for example, to their face. And then gossip, or frivolous speech. That's like more and more refined. Watching our speech is energy that we put out into the world. So we don't do this in terms of our practice because there's a God that will then punish you for doing it. But there is a relationship of cause and effect. Have you ever had a moment where you just kind of talked too much and later were like, God, why did I do that? Anybody? Yeah. Yeah. So that's the cause and effect relationship of the energy that we've put out into the world, and our regret for it. The gift that we give ourselves for practicing sila is remorselessness. A lot of time we experience a little low level of remorse. We might call it anxiety or self-doubt. It will manifest as anxiety. It will manifest as self-doubt. But when you start to be more conscious of the words that you're putting into the world and the actions, then a quietness happens internally and a confidence. And the Buddha said you can go into any room with kings, he said, any kind of status of person, and feel confident in yourself when you keep the practice of sila. But always for that relationship, cause and effect. So if we understand we are powerful, and most of the time we just don't understand that. Understand that we have an effect on the environment around us, and that we can hurt or harm the environment around us, or we can help it. And what happens then in a more positive way from that law of cause and effect? Have you ever given to somebody and then for a while felt really good about it? And think of the past ways that you've been really helpful to any being, if it was pure. Because people give with expectation, right? But the Buddha talked about a kind of giving that is without expectation, service to others. It used to be kind of understood. It's funny because people really argue for like capitalism and health care because they feel like the greed component can help health care. There was a time when churches ran our hospitals, like historically, from a little thing called goodwill. Helping others is something that humans still have within them. It's not just for one's own benefit that we are motivated by, right? And of course, for one's own benefit is always going to corrupt anything that is supposed to be helpful. It will always corrupt. Greed, pharmaceutical industry. Is that about our health these days? But if it was really about health, that there's a clash there of the greed with goodwill. But goodwill we have, human beings have it, and we can grow it. We can help people without wanting anything in return. And when we do, then there's a great feeling of confidence, a life well lived, a sureness, a refuge. So our own mind, our own actions is our refuge in the world. We are our actions in the world. We identify as a person that is a this or a that, maybe put limitations on ourselves, but we are our actions. And our actions can be uplifted or they can be brought down at any moment. We can change within this life to become a completely different person by thinking different thoughts and taking different actions. Or within the next life, changing and changing. So in your practice, just draw the line sometimes, cause and effect. As you live by a spiritual practice, go on a day-long retreat, later notice some clarity, some calm, some reaction to people that feels better, or your inner world becoming more clear and peaceful. And then really, good karma does come. In the East, they talk about this a lot. They don't shy away from a beneficial. The Buddha talked how to become wealthy. He talked how to become beautiful, to have an advantageous rebirth in all kinds of ways too, from putting in good karma. Those things happen too. Okay, so I'll stop talking and we can open up for shares. We have a microphone here so that if people in the room have a question, the people online will hear you. The one, did you have a question?
I was going to ask if she needed it.
Oh, okay. No. Yeah.
Hello? Oh, hi, my name is Ahuva. Thank you so much for guiding us through that meditation. So one of the things that I think is the most challenging is when you do observe behavior that is harmful to others, like the way Karen got that naming, got associated with ill intention and prejudice. It's hard not to judge it, because there is something in us, or at least in me, that wants to see good behavior towards others. So maybe that's the practice.
I don't know the origin story of Karen, just so you know.
Oh,
I don't want to know.
No. No, I was just going to say, okay.
Yeah, well, if we look very closely at our own hearts and minds, we see what judging does. And so when it comes up, everything is to be tested to see, is this worthy? Is it helpful? Is it onward leading? Does it help me or change the situation? And so that should be an open question to anything that we're doing. In my experience, when I observe that I'm judging somebody, and there's a difference between judging and then discerning, the judging mind contracts and creates pain inside here. It's a very regular experience for all of us, but you can feel it, and it's not pleasant to be within yourself. And so you start creating these unpleasant experiences in yourself from subconscious thinking, judgment, and then you blame it on the external person for doing that. Yeah. So as long as judging is fun, you should continue to do it. And then there's discerning, though. And discerning comes with, observing. When you see your own mind, you see exactly how other things can happen. Some things can be really confusing. Maybe you observe a behavior like, God, I would never do that. I don't even know where that comes from, kind of thing. But we can know the pieces of ignorance and delusion and anger or greed or selfishness or whatever else is coming on. And then there's, but there's an understanding with it. I love that panya, which is the word for wisdom, which we know we're cultivating, also means understanding, because there's a real love in that too. And with wisdom and discernment, we walk away from situations and scenarios where people are not, are going to continue to harm others in the world. And we live in a world where there is a lot of harm. And if we could change that, then we should. And in the cases where we can, we should. But when we can't, then at least we can work on our own harming. So yeah, thank you.
Hi, my name is Sylvie. And first of all, Melissa, beautiful talk and meditation, very grateful. And something that I've been struggling with is the subject of cultural appropriation. And I come from a multicultural background, and from the time I was very little, always navigated from one culture to another. And I've been kind of really contemplating, how does that concept sort of fit into the Buddha's teachings, and how can one draw the line? Because it goes from being, of course, important to honor other people's cultures. On the other hand, it's like everything that we do, one way or another, might have been inherited from a different culture. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just curious if you had any thoughts about that.
Can anybody give me a clear definition of appropriation? I remember having thoughts on this, but I forget what the word exactly means in the dictionary. Does anybody have their actual? Thank you. And when until she looks that up, then I had a thought about this at one point that maybe the dictionary definition will help me with, because I looked it up at one point, thinking on the same topic. But one thing I can say before I hear that even is that the Dharma cannot be appropriated. The Dharma is reality as it is. It's kind of like appropriating the skeletal system, right? It's not cultural. There's no culture to it. So, and it's the same with the workings of the causes of suffering. That cannot be appropriated. And so there's things within the tradition in Asian culture, which I value, it's where I practice very much. Monastics falling in line in the way that the Buddha did, that is in existence in our culture and isn't valued as much in our culture, to our detriment, for sure. But at the time of the Buddha, there were lay people that were teaching too, but this monastic system is, you can call that cultural, but the Dharma itself is not cultural, it's reality. Four Noble Truths was the first teaching of the Buddha, is the universal realities. It's the way things are. Whether we're from any culture, suffering happens. The universality of suffering is universal, and the causes of suffering is universal. And the ability to do something about that is universal too. Yeah. You had a follow-up, Sylvie?
I do, and yeah, what you said makes a lot of sense. And also, even as I asked the question, I also realized at the time of the Buddha, there weren't really a lot of different cultures. And so, you know, how we have the precepts of not lying or not stealing or etc. There isn't a precept that says you're not supposed to appropriate or wear a shirt that belongs to someone else's culture. Do you know what I mean?
And there wouldn't be either. There wouldn't be. No, I mean, there were different cultures at the time of the Buddha. There was a class system and there was slavery. And, you know, the Buddha stayed away from cultural things, really, and went to the essence and to the core. That's what his practice was. There was a renunciation of all worldly systems, really, you know, and any hierarchies at all. That's what monastics are doing. They're abandoning all of it. So to go on the deepest root of consciousness and reality. So those are new cultural rules. That are they ethical or unethical? The guidelines for ethics were what we just talked about. Don't kill people. And don't harm them with your words. And don't try to divide them from each other. That's like harming at its like essence. And then other people, if you want to be compassionate in various kinds of ways, and of course you can do that, but make sure that you're doing it from compassion. There's people that adopt these new kinds of cultural rules and use them just to shame and should each other, or to feel superior. And it's just more division rather than harmonizing, bringing people together, healing, you know. Yeah, there's corruption in the government in Burma, but the monks do what they do. A military junta that is involved in the government in Burma. They know oppression like nobody in our country does, really. Yeah, they can't speak words without going to jail for it. So, yeah, non-harming. It's like right in the heart. Am I harming somebody? It's those are the bare. Other things are cultural rules. So, yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Sylvie.
Yes.
Okay, what's my definition? Appropriate.
The action of taking something for one's own use, typically without the owner's permission.
Oh, yeah, you can't do that with the Dharma. Let me tell the online people. You can't. The action of what?
Taking something for one's own use, typically without the owner's permission.
Yeah. The action of taking something for one's own use without the other person's permission. Yeah, okay. It doesn't work for the Dharma. Yes, please, Sylvie. Yes, yes, they're great questions.
I'm going to give you an example because I think that really speaks to this issue. So I purchased a flute years ago, and it is basically written that it's from a Navajo flute. And I've been contemplating, because I have been reading and hearing a lot of people saying, you need to ask someone's culture if you're wearing a shirt that is from somebody else's culture. And I've been contemplating, gosh, am I doing cultural appropriation by playing a flute that was created by a Navajo person without asking them the permission? Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, it's becoming very strict in some milieus, and I'm sort of struggling with this a bit. You know?
Somebody's just making up rules, huh? I mean, you can adhere to them or not, it's your own choice. The most important thing is in your heart, to not harm or hurt other people. And people can draw those lines of that is harmful, and others might, I don't know, some people interpret that as harm, other people don't interpret that as harm. But there's things that are clearly harm. Punch somebody in the eye, and that, that's a clear harm. It hurt. You gave pain to somebody else. The others are kind of interpretive, and it's not the Dharma. So yeah. Thank you, Sylvie. Great questions. Yeah. Go ahead, Juan.
Just as a quick follow-up, I just wanted to offer something quickly. I was looking that up too because I was curious. One definition of cultural appropriation occurs when a person from one culture adopts the fashion, iconography, trends, or styles from a culture that's not their own. But then this person goes on to add, there is a difference between cultural appropriation and cultural appreciation. That might be something worth thinking about. And then
I don't know. It all feels like divisive lines to me. I don't know. Somebody else can give a talk on that. It's not going to be me. We're humans, We influence each other. When we were kids, that was okay, right? In some way, yeah. I can imagine there's something that I'm not seeing, where there's times when that's weird or hurtful. I don't know though, but it's not Dharma. So yeah.
That happens more with one is a small culture that feels disenfranchised. It has almost a defense mechanism.
Someone.
The Kardashians wearing braids.
What?
That was considered cultural.
What was?
Kardashians wearing.
Oh, I see.
That was a good conversation.
I see. Okay. Okay. Thanks, Ron. Thank you both. Yeah. Good. No more cultural questions.
Hi, my name is Fortune. Thank you so much for the talk, the meditation, and I really love the subject that you're talking about today. My question is around when you said that having no expectation, giving with having no expectation. I wonder if you could talk about that a little bit more, because in relationships with people, especially in very close relationships, I think that is a sticky place, has been for me.
In what way has it?
Well, certain expectations that when a relationship becomes imbalanced, for example,
Yeah.
where I'm a giver, giving and happily giving, but then not really receiving. And there's what I judge or discern as selfishness on behalf of the other person. I wonder if you could speak a little bit more about that.
Yeah, it's a very relatable thing that you're sharing. I think we all go through experiencing that in interpersonal relationships. And certainly in interpersonal relationships, people, I don't want to say should, but it's healthy when people are showing up with equal energy within and commitment and care inside of the relationship. And within relationships, it's good to practice giving freely without expectation. It can be in romantic relationships where that starts to get really corrupted, which is why those relationships turn stressful so regularly, because there's the expectation piece of everything, or a feeling of getting something back and everything. So, but outside of those relationships, it's best to practice this idea of dana, which is just service to others without expecting anything back, like giving without expectation. It's a beautiful practice. And then within relationships, it can turn into caregiving and codependency and all of that. And that can require a little bit more mindfulness.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Go ahead, Ronnie.
I'm sorry that you haven't been billed as the Dharma comedian, because, I mean, yesterday was very joyful, but also very confusing for me. There was so much. I had beginner's luck in my practice because I'm mostly big-hearted and generous. And I'm saying my 4th month of daily practice. And there was a lot of teachings yesterday, and I, took away, safety and healthy and happy and awareness, object and pickleball. But there were so many things taught, I left feeling lost and very confused. I couldn't hold it on, and I am quite sad because I'm wondering about my mental capacity.
Oh, come on. No.
So I came here today hoping to tie up loose ends, and I took this beautiful pink Barbie ribbon and shiny and tried to put a bow on it, and there's no bow on Buddhist practice. So I got the joy in seeing that, and maybe being lost is the beginning of my true practice.
Yeah. And anytime, just always, any group you go to, my class, anybody else, always take what really resonates with you, and anything that doesn't, then leave it, or anything that's confusing, then just leave it for a while. I mean, I go into all the concepts, and when you first hear them, then it takes 16 times when you're learning a new language of exposure to a new word to really learn it. Same with these kinds of concepts, then they start to like, oh yeah, okay, meaningful. But if you got pickleball out of it, then great.
The best.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank you so much. You're
Thank you,
just a
Ronnie.
beautiful
Yeah.
teacher.
Oh,
And I'll
thank
look
you.
forward
Yeah.
to seeing you
Yeah.
the 12th.
Thank you. Okay, good. All right, let's do some metta to close. Thank you for your practice, everybody, for your energy, time. Inclining the heart towards kindness and love, and really what is essential, what we're looking for, each of us. Safety, health, happiness, peace of mind. Extending those words into your blood, into your bones, into your organs. May I be safe, healthy, happy, and peaceful, and let everything else go for now, just that. so that you see you take good care of yourself, you protect yourself, you nurture yourself. May I be safe, healthy, happy, and peaceful. Letting all of the cells of your body radiate these thoughts of loving kindness, receive and radiate safety, health, happiness, peace. Extending those thoughts to our community here as we co-create a safe community. May everyone here be safe, healthy, happy, and peaceful. Letting the words come from your heart instead of your head. Seeing each other as precious beings who wish to be happy. who wish to be free from suffering. Dissolving ideas, good, bad, right, wrong, and just wish beings safety. And then extending those thoughts to all beings everywhere, north, south, east, west, above and below, excluding no being. May all beings everywhere be safe, healthy, happy, and peaceful. Thank you, everybody. Great sitting with you. Thank you. Yeah. So we'll leave this. They have another group tonight, so we can just leave everything here. Thanks for that. And there's tea if anybody wants it, and we'll see you soon. Bye to everybody online. Feel free to unmute and say goodbye.
Bye, everybody not online. Thank you, Melissa.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Melissa.
Bye, Sherry. Good to see you. Bye,
You
Chris.
too. Thank you.